So actually, pick back up a little bit where if I was talking to you starting off, you've got a busy job, so just let's start there.
Well, it's every day. If you live in South Louisiana, you have the threat of being flooded by a hurricane. And we can't be passive about doing that, so we have to be concentrating on it all the time. I work for a board that was appointed by the governor. That board has one purpose, and that's to keep water out of people's homes and businesses in the South Lafourche area. And so we just concentrate every day on doing that. But we do it in a way that helps the environment, that helps our businesses. We need critical infrastructure, you need a good environment, and you need an economy. And we approach flood protection understanding the mixture and combination of those three things.
So tell me, Hurricane Ida, what was that like?
It was unbelievable. We find out by the National Hurricane Center saying that it's the fifth.
I'm sorry. I need you to say, we just had Hurricane Ida.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just experienced Hurricane Ida in southeast Louisiana. It was on the critical path for the South Lafourche Levee District. Ida, National Hurricane Center, said that it was the fifth most intense storm ever to hit the United States on the critical path for our levee system in our community. We were very fortunate in that our levees were just high enough. I'd say 30% of the levees, the water got within a foot of the top. We had 3 places with some overtopping, and yet no flooding in any homes or businesses. That was really remarkable considering our system wasn't designed to handle a storm that powerful. So we had that success. But that wind tore up. I've never seen South Lafourche look so bad. The wind affected almost everybody's roof, tore up the trees. The only thing that reminded me of the trees is I did visit Waveland, Mississippi after Katrina. And I remember how bad the trees looked, the oak trees. And that's exactly how it looked in South Lafourche for Hurricane Ida. But again, our levees, which we have been building up to about an 18-foot elevation on the south end, we had water right to the top. In Golden Meadow, we have a levee that comes right to the 4-lane highway. And the levee's 17 feet high, and the water got to 16. We had a solid surge of 13 to 14 feet, and we had wave run up because that wind was blowing 130 miles an hour or more, and pushed that water even up and higher. And in a couple of places, actually got over the levee. But again, we survived it with no loss of life, no flooding in any homes or businesses. We did have some ponding in a sugarcane field, but even that. August 29th is early in the sugarcane season, but when it came time to harvest, they had a record year in the place that we ponded the water, so we couldn't have asked for a better outcome on such a terrible storm.
Describe to me, starting with Grand Isle, and go up the bayou, what it was like by town.
Now Grand Isle was terrible. Grand Isle was just a little bit out of the eye, caught the eye wall, terrible damage. The island was really torn up, but it's amazing. Some of the structures went through all of that and survived. But the protection for the island, the levees, the sand levees were all over the island. They were no longer where they were. In fact, talking to Mayor Commerdale, he said, they went back and retrieved a bunch of the sand that was on the island and rebuilt part of the levee. They've been very fortunate that the feds and the state are coming with a lot of money to help Grand Isle get reestablished. And here we are, it's July, and still a lot of repair to be done, but they've accomplished a lot. And I was talking to David just yesterday, and he was telling me how, people are coming down and having a great time, and they had a great 4th, and they plan to have a great Tarpon Rodeo. But that's what makes Grand Isle is that just a couple of weeks ago, people with cast nets were catching, during one cast, they were catching 10 to 20 pounds of 21 to 25 pound shrimp. It's remarkable, but that's why people live in South Louisiana. You got to be there when it happens, and it was just amazing. So, with all the bad things that happened, we're in a place when you live on a delta, like every delta in the United States. It's a place of great opportunity and great risk, and the hurricanes are part of that risk. But the production of shrimp and crabs and oysters and the lifestyle we have is the great stuff. So we make this battle, for our communities to continue. We have to continue fighting the subsidence issue and storms and all the things.
Leeville.
That affect us. Leeville, again, Leeville, Louisiana. Leeville was formed, in fact, my great-great-grandfather was Pierre Lee, who had the farm right there in the present area of Leeville. And basically, no one lived there. He was a farmer, like a few people living south of Lockport. There were no real communities back in 1893. Most of the people were at Shea Caminada, just across Caminada Pass from Grand Isle. and it was a big fishing community. It had 1,700 people, a lot of young families with a lot of kids. Hurricane of 1893 hit, killed half of the population. Most of the survivors moved up to Leeville, Golden Meadow, Cutoff, Westwego, Lafitte. All my relatives, as I was growing up, in Cutoff, and that's where one of my grandfathers, 3 out of my 4 grandparents moved to Leeville, 1 moved to Cutoff. And that was the beginning of Leeville. Then you had the storm of 1909, and then the storm of 1915, which flooded every home in Leeville, and then went on to flood in New Orleans, caused even people leaving Leeville. And now, after what Ida did to Leeville, we have maybe 6 people still living in Leeville.
Describe to me, because I got footage of the levee wall held, but the boats that did not get out, because I got footage of those boats being washed ashore. Oh, it described to me the impact of the storm.
Okay, you're talking about the levee, our levee in the South.
Yeah,
Like
just and actually I saw many boats with named Saints in Leeville that were just capsized. So I got footage of that, and so we can talk about Leeville and how intense the storm was in Leeville.
Oh yeah, well again, the storm basically paralleled Bayou Lafourche. The eye hit Fort Fourchon at the mouth of Bayou Lafourche, and then paralleled the bayou between the Terrebonne line and the Lafourche line. And we didn't get the eye in South Lafourche, but we got the eye wall. We were just outside of the eye, which was about a 17-mile wide eye. And it had tremendous damage up in Leeville. And although there's not a lot of people living in Leeville, it's still a place where a lot of work is done. You had a number of shrimp boats that were tied up during the storm and got put all over the marsh, put up against the levee, put way out into the marsh. We have a lot of Vietnamese that own a lot of the bigger steelhouse shrimp boats. And they're I've seen a lot of storms, lived in Cutoff my entire life. Never saw as many boats actually 180 degrees upside down with the bottom of the boat just being above the waterline and being completely flipped around. But again, the 5th most intense storm ever to hit, you're going to see things you never saw before. So it really did a terrible thing to all of the boats in Leeville and the fishing villages, and just wiped out about everything that you had in Leeville. There's not much left of Leeville. Leeville, back in 1900, when people were populating it, it was probably 4 feet higher than it is today. But we've lost about 3 feet to subsidence and maybe 1 foot to sea level rise. And now it's nothing more than, you could ride a horse perpendicular from the bayou and go a 1/4 mile without getting into marsh. Today, Leeville is no more than an exaggerated shoulder of the road. But still, it's still a place that you can go and catch fish and run your operation out of. But the storms batter it, and that's why people don't stay in it. Now we've got the levee system in South Lafourche. Again, we've been able to keep the water out since 1985. We hadn't had any major flooding since that time. But even with that, the effects of the hurricanes, and some people just don't want to fight even the wind anymore. So we're losing some population, just for that.
Tell me about this cemetery in Leeville that's on the other side of the bayou that's almost gone. You can barely see it.
Well, there were a number of, we talk about, cemeteries on Leeville. There were a number of cemeteries in Leeville. In fact, just a little bit north of Leeville, I have one of my family cemeteries that it was disappearing. It was on the bayou side, it was disappearing. And my uncle went and put a cement slab around all of the headstones, and it's still visible, but still sinking. And we have 4 or 5 of them. There was a real prominent cemetery on the East Canal, on the east side of Bayou Lafourche, at the intersection of the East-West Canal and Bayou Lafourche. And for years you could see it even driving over the bridge. Well, that 20 years ago, you had the sarcophagus still above the waterline. Today you can hardly see anything left. Again, the sinking continues. And the cemeteries that we have, it's really sad. Not only can't people live where they used to live, even the place that we placed the people that died in the highest ports of Leeville are now subsiding below sea level.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick stop.